Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining Painting with Picasso's Grapevine. My name is Leanna and I will be your host and teacher for today. So we are thinking about the holidays, and we've got a couple paintings that we're going to do today, which is kind of unusual. They're kind of small and they're kind of easy, so we're going to take a stab at them. The first one on the right is a nice little Santa. So he's so cute. He's out there. He's waving. He's nice and cute, nice and easy. And then we've got a really simple little, a nice little tree. So getting you kind of thinking about Christmas, kind of doing some decorations. Now, before we get started, we always kind of take a look at our supplies and make sure we have everything. We always work with acrylics. For today, I have 4 paintbrushes with me. I have a number 6 filbert. I have a number 4 filbert. I have a angled brush. And I have a number 1 round. Again, we are using acrylics, and with us we have 2 palettes full of paints. So for the painting here on the left, just because we got some different colors, I've got some, oh gosh, what do we got? We got some cobalt blue, we have some red, we've got a couple dollops of white, I have some nice beautiful green, black, I've got a nice light green, ooh, a little bit of a metallic gold, and some cad yellow. And for our Santa Claus, off to the right, very simple. So we've got some red, cobalt blue, black, and white. And as well, don't forget to include a cup of water so we can kind of wash off our brush and continue on, and as well our dab rag for cleaning off that paintbrush. So before we kick off, we always take a look at our paintbrush, our painting, and just say, okay, where do we start? Where do we start first? Where do we go to? Where do we end up at? So for both of these are kind of, I'm going to call them kind of one-dimensional. So there's not like a really, in-depth kind of, approach to these. So typically I will start with the outside and then kind of work my way in. And to do so, I have started off with a little bit of a sketch, because this is kind of a character drawing. It's kind of a little cartoony. So I'm not going to do that freehand. I did it with a magic marker, so I can kind of go over some of those lines if I needed to. So to do so, to kind of kick it off, I am going to start with that, gosh, I think I'm going to grab this number 4 filbert. So go ahead, dip that in your water, and I'm going to start off with our little Santa Claus off on the right here. So I've dipped it in the water just to kind of to warm it up, dipped it on our little rag there just to dry it off, and I'm going to do the blue just around the edge. So kind of grabbing it, dipping it into our blue, and I'm going to brighten it up just a tad, because I don't want it like super, super dark blue. So we have such a small amount that's in our background. It's going to be very quick, really small. Now typically, I would have a nice little 8.5 by 10 canvas, but you know what? We have this nice big easel here, so I said, you know what, I'm just going to draw this out on my 16 by 20 canvas instead. So we'll just kind of do it like that to make it easy. So I think one of the biggest things is just remember which area you're kind of filling in. So it might be easy to make a mistake if you're kind of not watching too closely what you're doing. So I'm making sure I fill in the correct areas. And we're just doing the background. Just kind of getting in some of those little outside areas. Now if I go in a little bit on top of some of those outlines, that's okay. Again, that's why I did it in the marker, so I don't lose my lines, number 1. And if this gets a little too tight for you, let that sit there, go back in with your tiny little brush, and then we'll kind of get that nice and tight in that small little area. Let's move over, and we'll go ahead and work on our background for our tree. So we're going to do both of these kind of at the same time. Like I said, we'll kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Now acrylic paint dries very fast. So you'll notice I'm kind of mixing both of these colors together at the same time on my paper plate. And just kind of getting it out there on the canvas. Now if your dimpling is showing through, and again, dimpling is when you see the texture of the canvas, that's your canvas telling you, hey, you need some more paint, go ahead. Don't be so cheap on the paint, put some more paint there. And again, I'm doing this on this nice 16 by 20 canvas, but if you wanted to do this on the smaller size, these are kind of drawn out for an 8 by 10. That's what they are structured to do. And that would look really, really cute if you had a nice little 8 by 10 canvas and you could hang it up on your wall. So yeah, so just kind of filling them in. I'm just kind of following the curve of the tree. Continuing down. You'll notice that the first strokes I have are kind of placement strokes. So I get that paint on the canvas, then I kind of come in and I clean up. So I do the same thing down here. So I'm kind of placing my paint on the canvas, and then I kind of come back and clean up my strokes. We're also going to do a nice big thick line all the way around, so I'm not too concerned about my edges at this point. There we go. Nice. There we go. So we've got our outline kind of done. We'll kind of finish up this little piece right here. Kind of make it a little bit cleaner. There. All right. Let's go ahead and dip that into the water. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move into our tree here, and we'll go ahead and get that green out there and let that dry. I'm going to move into the number 6 filbert. Let's go ahead and dip that into the water. Wake it up. And we're going to move into our nice cad green. And here is where you can go ahead and move right over our outline of our little Christmas decorations. And again, I did that in that black magic marker so you could see right through it anytime I go over it. So we're just going to go up and down, kind of get some nice coverage. I do love the holidays. It's so much fun to get those decorations out there. And it seems like it starts earlier and earlier every year. We start pulling out the decorations. Now you'll also notice a lot of the colors have a very clear pigment, so they're kind of translucent. If you are finding that your green is just a little bit too see-through, grab some white. The white mixed in with the green is a wonderful, it's almost like a paste, and what it will do is it will actually make it more solid. It will cover your canvas much nicer. It's kind of counterintuitive. You would think that a dark color would actually cover the canvas better, but quite honestly, reds and purples and like darker greens, pinks in particular, they will not cover your canvas. So you really need to add another color in there to kind of mix with it. Once you mix those two colors together, you'll notice an immediate difference. It will really stretch much further and give your canvas a richer color. Now, here's the trick. If you don't want to lose the richness of that color, just go right back on top of it with the original color. So for example, so the green, we're adding a little bit of white to get coverage, let it dry, and then add more green right on top. So you don't end up with a light green. If you want a dark green, just kind of come back in with some green. You already have that coverage by mixing the two together. Then you achieve the color by adding another layer. There you go. Again, those first strokes are your placement strokes. So we'll go ahead, place the color and the paint on the canvas, then we come in and fix it. Kind of do the cleanup strokes. And get some coverage on that. Alrighty. Now I'm going to go ahead and cover up this little bulb here just because when we add in a second color on top of it, I don't want it to have a contrast. I want it to have the same base all the way through so that you don't have a hard time creating a consistency, whatever color you choose to put on, whatever color you choose to decorate with. There we go. Alrighty. And don't forget, take a step back, take a look at your painting, see what you like, see what you don't like. Of course, I'm always working to the right of it, so sometimes things can get a little angled. So I always got to like, oh, okay, take a step forward. Do I like the look of it? Do I need to add anything to it? Sometimes I'll come in and go, oh, okay, maybe a little bit of depth, maybe a little bit of texture. And just kind of give it a few little swishes, a couple little touches, just to say, oh, a little bit more interest. All right. There, so we'll go ahead and let this one dry and we'll kind of move back over into our Santa Claus. So while these two are kind of drying, we'll kind of work on our, let's see, we'll start with our hat perhaps. So let's move into that number 4 filbert. And we're gonna grab a little bit of our white. Let's go ahead and just get some placement here. So you think, okay, it's a white canvas. Why am I putting white on a white canvas? That's kind of silly. We just kind of want to have some coverage here because we're going to add just a touch of black. We want to end up with this ever so soft gray. So I'm kind of mixing it right here so you can see. Just enough to say, okay, there's something on Santa's hat, just a little bit. I'm going to add just a little bit. And then what we're going to do later is we're going to come in and highlight that with white. So we're just going to give it some undertones. And then we'll come back in and give it some nice white. All right, and then the same thing, anything that has kind of his little poofy white, fluffy, cottony areas, we'll go ahead and give a little bit of a gray undertone. And that includes his little beard. So I'm kind of following the shape of his beard with the stroke of my brush. I come in from the side and then just kind of take it down the side of his little beard and just kind of give him some coverage here. Again, right now, just getting the paint on. Not too concerned with my finishing strokes at this point. Just getting some coverage. And don't forget, We do want to get some nice paint on the canvas so that you can come in and create those finishing strokes. So if you're getting that dimpling showing through, make sure you add more paint. All right. So at this point, I've got some nice coverage. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and wash off my brush. And I'm going to move into grabbing a little bit of my red, and we're going to work on the top of Santa's hat. Now I'm starting up here because eventually I'm going to put some black in his little mitten there. So if I have any accidents right here, I can kind of fix them. As well, we will go around with a quick outline around a lot of his little parts so that we can fix any accidents that may occur. Because you know what, sometimes things get out of hand. They just kind of get a little crazy. And some of these little parts get a little tight, a little tough to get into. So as you're kind of moving around with your paintbrush, perhaps you hit a wrong color or perhaps you just pick a wrong part. There we go. And you have to come in and kind of fix it. As a matter of fact, I think what I'll do is I may switch into our tiny brush. So I'll start down here. And I'm going to go ahead and move into our tiny brush as well, because some of these spots are getting a little tiny for me too. So that's kind of the fun of working with some of the different sizes. Everybody has a different technique, and there's all different types of brushes out there. So what you have to do is really find the right brush that you're comfortable with. So you'll find that some people teach and use different size brushes for different techniques. I find that I use a lot of the big brushes for the big areas because, you know what, gosh, that makes a lot of sense. But I will use angled brushes very often to draw trees. Some people use this tiny little brush to draw trees. It really, quite frankly, depends on which brush you're comfortable with. So to find that out, you just got to play with them. So right now I've got a lot of red going on right here. We're going to actually define that with an outline in black. So I'm going to jump over some of these lines, which makes it nice and easy. And that's another benefit of going ahead and outlining this in magic, or permanent marker rather, because it makes it just a hair bit easier to see. Alrighty. Now at this point I'm going to actually mix up, let's see, perhaps we'll go in, we'll grab a little bit of black and come in with this little guy's mitten. Kind of give him a nice little mitten. What's nice as well is at one of the very last steps in this painting, we're going to go through and we're going to make some nice big strokes to just give everything a nice outline and make it a little bit more forgiving if we've made any mistakes. Alrighty. I think we'll go in, give him some nice round eyes. There you go. And then I'm going to grab our number 4 filbert. I'm going to grab some of that white. I'm going to go back into our hat and start lightening it up just a little bit. Give them some nice little swishes. There you go. Kind of lighten up his little fluffy area. And then maybe we'll jump over to our Christmas tree and start giving it a little bit of a definition. We'll start outlining that Christmas tree. Now this one is already on there, but you could really decide wherever you want to put those little decorations. And I'll give you a little trick too. I'm going to take my finger, my little pinky, and dab it into, right here is the cad yellow. And we're going to use some of that as our decorations. So it makes it pretty easy to get some of that placement out there. And then, let's see. Maybe a little bit of the solid blue. The solid blue out there as well, which is kind of neat. And then, let's see, how about like that light green? 'Cause that looks kind of cool. There. And then what I'll do is I'll grab a little bit of black and we'll add a little bit of a decoration on that ornament. And then, I want to make it kind of fun and interesting. Perhaps we'll throw in a few little snowflakes, just to give it some interest. And then last but not least on the tree, let's go ahead and give it that definition that I talked about and just kind of outline it. I'm going to give this whole painting right here a nice big outline. Looks kind of fun and rustic. Alrighty. And as well, we're going to come over here and give Santa a little bit of a nice outline as well. Kind of give his little hat some definition. Now if you're finding that your paintbrush is a little thick, go ahead, swirl it into your paint, and then pull it out. So this will help you kind of get some of that thick paint off of it, and it'll thin out a little bit more as you place it on the canvas. Now another trick is to grab a little bit of white. So grab a little bit of white and take that white right over top of it and make those nice light strokes. That always kind of helps out nicely. There you go. Now we haven't forgot about Santa's nose. We'll come in and mix up a little bit of pink. And you notice I'm actually doing a little bit more white around the mitten just because it's black. So to outline that, I'm coming in with the white. All right, so let's go ahead and finish up Santa's nose. He's just got a little bit left there. To do so, I'm going to grab a little bit of my white, just with a dab of red. We're going to make it ever so light pink. I'm going to give him a little bit of a swishy nose. Some rosy cheeks. And then what we'll do as well, we'll come back in, grab some of that black, kind of outline that. And then let's kind of give him just a few little streaks in his beard. There. Okay. I think we've got it. I think we've got our Santa. Not too bad. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Very quick, but very easy, fun Christmas painting, and actually a couple of them. If you'd like to learn more about how to paint this type of painting or some paintings like this, send us an email to info@picassosgrapevine.com. Thank you for joining us.